What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So in this video we're updating another list from last year because a lot's changed in my collection over the last year and some change, and that includes niche fragrances. And in this video I'm going to go ahead and discuss if today was the day that I had to just narrow it down to 10 niche fragrances and these are the only ones I could keep for life, these are the 10. So stay tuned. In no particular order, we are going to start off with the one I have most recently worn. I just wore this one yesterday at the recording of this video. Is Juliette Has a Gun Lipstick Fever. So, not the most masculine of fragrances, but man, if you love iris, this is a good one. Oh man, raspberry iris. You know, the violet absolute that's used in here is very present as well, but I find the iris stands out a bit more. It's a little bit of a waxy iris. There's a little bit of cedar that kind of darkens it up a little bit in the dry down, a little patchouli touch, but it's mostly raspberry, iris, and violet. Dominates this fragrance, and it is lovely. It is a fruity floral. It is marketed for the ladies, but I just love this one. It's so good. Like I said, iris lovers, you're bound to like this. This is definitely sample first. If you're not a fan of the fragrances that tend to lean a little bit feminine, you may not like this fragrance. But for me personally, it's a lifer. I love this one. I don't, with the amount of fragrances I have, it's not something that gets worn all the time, but I do find myself going back to it because I love the way it smells so much. By no means some monster in performance. It's an average performer at best, but the scent on this one, A1. Next, this would be the only Creed I'm looking to keep. Now granted, I only have 2 bottles from the house, but it's not Aventus, I'll tell you that. We're talking about Creed Viking. Masculine signature scent. Man, this stuff is really, really good. Definitely not something youthful or playful or something I think too many teenagers or early 20s young men would enjoy, but guys 30 plus I'm sure will have an appreciation for this. Most guys, obviously not every fragrance is for everyone, but this one really speaks to me. It's not a monster. It doesn't really push off my skin real heavy. It does remind me that it's there throughout the day, but I do get every bit of 7 to 8 hours on my skin with this one. It is light enough where I have no problem doing one spray on my shirt depending on the shirt to boost its longevity a little bit, because oils don't just evaporate that easy on clothing. But on my skin, I do get above average, really good longevity, and it sits a bit close to the skin. It's not in your face. It's not pronounced. It's very gentlemanly. I know that word gets overused, I guess you could say, when it comes to talking about fragrances, but it fits it. It really does. I would consider it more gentlemanly because it's not too loud or in your face. It's more subdued and refined from a projection standpoint, from a scent profile standpoint. The word really fits, and it's one of my favorite fragrances in my collection. I haven't had it for a really long time. I've worn it a handful of times. I love it more every time I wear it, and it's one I'd have to keep for life, is Creed Viking. Now, I've gotten 3 from NISHANE, and this one is hands down my favorite. It's the best smelling vanilla fragrance I've ever put my nose on. For me personally, it is NISHANE Ani. So, fan your flames. Unique, intriguing, and just sexy. It's a sexy fragrance. This is a sexy fragrance too. Hasavat more falls into what I would consider gentlemanly, but it's much more in your face. It's pretty beastly on my skin. This one, just all around sexy, seductive, and intoxicating. Addicting is another good word to throw in there. Very addictive smell. I can't stop smelling myself when I wear this fragrance. That's the case pretty much with everything in this video, but this especially. If this was ranked, this would have been towards the end for sure, because this is one of my favorite fragrances in my collection, period. And one of my favorite fragrances I have picked up this year for sure. That is still going to be on the end of the year video, with this being one of my favorite pickups for 2021. Performance is stellar. Very long lasting on my skin, 8 to 10 hour range. Projection is interesting though. First hour, super loud. Second and third hour, a bit more subdued but still pronounced. And then after that, really close to the skin. Doesn't go away, Not a complete skin scent. Still wafts to remind me it's there, but you got to really get close to me to smell me after about the 3-hour mark. The projection kind of does this. Drops off a little bit 2nd hour, drops off a little bit 3rd hour, and then right here in the 4th hour on into 8, 9, 10 hours, which still not a skin scent, but it's interesting the way it works on me. I don't know if it works on everybody that has this or has tried it, but it is one of the best smelling fragrances I've ever put my nose on. I don't know how many of you will agree that have tried this, but it is a stunning fragrance that is so addictive. I'm that weirdo that's just smelling himself randomly, walking around wherever the hell I'm at when I wear it. It's a great evening wear fragrance, great for the cold, and great for dates. Every time I wear it, it's when we're going to dinner at night, and it's one I'll definitely have to keep forever. If today we're narrowing it down to 10 niche fragrances, which we are, NISHANE makes the cut no problem. So I haven't wore this one since late winter, which was beginning of 2021, early 2021. This is definitely my favorite from the house of MONTALE. Some of you may know which fragrance it's going to be because I praised it earlier in the year. I did do a full review on it as well. It's such a rich, warm amber. It's got a pronounced oud, but it's not overpowered by the oud. It's sweet. It's just beautiful. It's MONTALE Honey Oud. This stuff's beautiful. God, this is such a good fragrance. It really is. And a monster on my skin. If you want one that's pronounced and is going to make a statement in the cooler weather, this little aluminum can with an atomizer on it, it's special in my opinion. It's sticky sweet because it's a honey fragrance, but the amber kind of warms it up and dries it out at the same time. It doesn't make it too thick smelling. The oud kind of rounds it out and gives it some backbone, that strong woody base. There's a little bit of vanilla in here that helps add a creaminess to it. It still adds a thickness, but it doesn't make it too thick at the same time. I think it's just so well balanced. It's sticky sweet. It's a dense sweet fragrance, but it's so warm and a little dry at the same time. I really think the amber and the wood, and the oud wood, the way it's used in here, kind of dry it out and smooth it off from being just too sweet, because there is such a thing as too sweet for fragrances. And it's a beast. It's 10 plus hours on my skin. It's very loud for about 2 to 3 hours. If you like them loud and sweet, you're bound to like this one. Another one, definitely try before you buy. Very unisex. Anybody can wear this one. Not youthful and playful, even though sweet. I find a little bit more mature than something a 21-year-old's going to like. Most 21-year-olds. I'm sure there's early 20s guys and gals that will like this. Not saying they're not out there. I'm just saying that's more in the minority. The majority is going to be 25, 28, 30 plus. That'll really look to wear this, I would think, because it does have a little bit of a maturity to it. It's not a playfully sweet fragrance, but it is a sweet fragrance at its core, and a great one at that. Definitely one of my favorite sweet fragrances, and my favorite from the house. I have like 12 fragrances from MONTALE, 10, 11, 12 fragrances from MONTALE at this point, and this is hands down my favorite and one I'll have to keep for life. This next one is my favorite tobacco fragrance in my collection, my favorite Argos fragrance. It's just so good, and it started to get darker. It's been turning color on me. It's Triumph of Bacchus from Argos. It's getting a lot darker. It's been maturing more. That's one of the beauties of using high quality oils. It'll just continue to mature like a fine wine. For how long, I don't know, but that's what's been going on with Triumph of Bacchus. The peach has become more present in the top note. It's richened up a bit. It smells richer than it did before, and it was already a beast. I mean, I'm ready for it to start cooling down so I can start wearing this one. You know, it was in the high 70s today. We're starting to get to that, you know, grass is starting to turn colors. Fall is around the corner for Colorado. So I'm pretty excited to wear this one. If you haven't tried it yet, you should. Yes, it has the same vibe of MANCERA Red Tobacco. Performs about the same. They're both beast, nuclear, crazy, powerful fragrances. But what's different here is it doesn't have the smokiness. It doesn't have that pungent oud up top. It's much more subdued, fresh, and fruity. The rum shines a lot more here. This is a much cleaner fragrance. It's a cleaner, more pure smell. Those of you that have heard me talk about this before, you've heard me use those words to describe it. It's a clean, pure, boozy tobacco fragrance. Strange as that may sound. Lovely, perfectly unisex. This is my stepdaughter's favorite fragrance. She has the 30 ml bottle of this. She went through 2 carded samples and got my 30 ml bottle when she came visit for the holidays this past Christmas. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's my favorite from the house. They have several really good fragrances, but this is hands down my favorite. Argos fragrance, my favorite tobacco fragrance, and possibly my favorite boozy fragrance. Triumph of Bacchus. So I wanted to make sure to just keep it one per house because there are a few multiples from houses that could have made this. It was hard to leave them off. And when it comes to Parfums de Marly, it was tough. This one was tough because I got some really good Parfums de Marly fragrances. Do I have all the great ones from them? No. Maybe one day. But the ones I do have, I find to be great. And if I'm just keeping one of them, it's got to be Cologne. I know, polarizing. Some of you can't stand this fragrance. That's okay. I love this fragrance. Because it's so strange. It's got a rubbery smell. Like the reds fit, the matte red, it smells like a red rubber ball almost. I know that's weird. I know it's weird, but I dig that about it. It's so spicy. There's this orangey spice up top, and it's got that rubbery type of note to it. Very weird. Very powerful on my skin. Another one I only wear in the cold. But it's so delightful. It smells so rich, warm, and spicy on my skin, out in the air. It's just lovely. It just jives with my skin chemistry. This fragrance really works for me. I've never had anybody say they didn't like how it smelled on me. Now, it's not some compliment magnet where every time I wear it, somebody's got to say something. But the times that it has garnered a conversation, started a conversation for me, no matter how brief, it's been positive because it's a little different. Some people want to compare it to having vibes of Baccarat Rouge 540, and there's the ever so faint assessment there somewhere in the heart, but it's definitely its own fragrance. I would not relate this moderately, let alone heavily, to Baccarat Rouge 540. Definitely not. Much, much spicier and dense. Doesn't have the florals. It's not the same fragrance. Not even close, in my opinion. There's that faint little spot where you're like, oh, that kind of does remind me of it. Somewhere a few minutes into the heart, but it's a monster, though. If you like beast mode performers, spicy beast mode performers, must try. And look, some of you, you're going to try it, and you're going to be like, oh, what's he talking about? That's terrible. That is what it is. We like what we like, right? And I definitely really, really like, dare I say, love Cologne from Parfums de Marly. So much so that of my 8 Parfums de Marly fragrances, it's the one I have to keep for life. So these last 4, I have multiple wonderful, awesome, lifetime-worthy fragrances from these houses. So these last 4 were the hardest to narrow down, just one from each house. Starting with ROJA Parfums, and that being Oceania. This is the fragrance I think I've worn the most this summer, especially the niche fragrance I've worn the most. And I've got some wonderful, wonderful offerings from this house. Before I got this, Burlington 1819 was the new superstar stud niche fragrance in my collection. It was really, and it still really does it for me. But this is just so easy to like and easy to wear. And I really dig those types of fragrances. And the quality's there. It's aquatic, it's beach vibes, it's fresh, it's summertime. This is the freshest fragrance in this video. And if I had to just pick one niche fresh fragrance, it's this. I can't imagine not picking this one. For as much as I love Danger Parfum Cologne, as much as I love Burlington 1819, Scandal, I like so many from them. I got a lot of really good ones. This is the hands down clear-cut winner because it's such a no-brainer for me to reach for when I don't know what to wear, but I want to wear something that's quality and fresh. It's been a no-brainer for me this summer. So that makes it a no-brainer to be the one from the house that I'm going to keep for life. Some of you already know this is my favorite from this house. It was my favorite release of 2020. And so some of you may have expected it to be in this video, and admittedly so. I do really love LAMAR from KAJAL Perfumes. Narrowly beating out the original KAJAL Homme is my favorite from the house. I'm a sucker for the florals. And this is heavy rose and marigold. Odd combination, but it really works. Some fruits up top. This has the pineapple that's in here really pops on my skin. I know some have said they don't get any pineapple. It's all in how it works on your skin and how it shows up on the paper when you do test strips and so on and so forth. You guys know that. But I don't know. It's the right amount of performance. It's long lasting. It's not too loud, but it's not subtle either. It's present. It pushes. First 2 hours, it really pushes on my skin. And this is another one that just jives with my skin. It's got an upscale appeal. Even though I've worn it a few times with a t-shirt, it smells like I'm underdressed. It really does. It has an elegance and class to it that really begs me, I can't speak for anyone else, begs me to dress it up more. Like the way I'm dressed now, I feel like I've learned my lesson and I feel like I'm underdressed to wear this fragrance. I feel like it deserves a more appropriate attire because it does smell very classy, I have to say. There's others from the house that would work better with the t-shirt that are more casual in my opinion. This, while extremely versatile if you're into florals, it's just classy. It's enjoyable. It performs. It's definitely unisex, though does have some masculine tones to it for being a floral dominated fragrance. There's a little toffee in there. There's a touch of ambroxan in the back. There's some woods, and there's a lot of notes here. It's a relatively complex fragrance without being too complex. But it's definitely the one from the house. If I got to just pick one to keep for life, it's going to be LAMAR. Now this is where it gets tough. You guys know I love my MANCERA fragrances. Wave Musk. It was so hard not to pick Wave Musk because I love Wave Musk. That's one of my favorite niche fresh fragrances. It narrowly gets beaten out by ROJA Parfums Oceania. That's why Wave Musk isn't in here. But I can't imagine, if I'm only going to pick one MANCERA fragrance to keep for life, I can't imagine not keeping CEDRAT BOISE. I just can't. It's too good. It's too good. It's versatile. It's a solid performer for me. It's not a beast, but it's not average or weak. It's slightly above average. 7-8 hours on my skin. I'm good with that. Yeah, it doesn't perform like the older bottles, the beast that would do 10-11 hours. I'm good with 6 to 8 hours on something fresh and well-rounded like this. Does the same job as a Ventus while not smelling like a Ventus. It's fruity, and I'm going to say something you've heard me say before. Smells like a fresh basket full of fruits, because the fruity notes really dominate this top on into the heart and early dry down. The woods kind of shine in the dry down. The cedar, it's not a bad cedar. You know, some cedars can be a little rough and kind of ruin a fragrance, kind of take away the shine of the apple on certain fragrances. That's not the case here. The way the cedar was done, it was the right wood for the scent profile they were going for. I love this fragrance. You can get them for a solid, a decent price from discounters these days. There was a time when you can get it for 60 some odd dollars. Places like Aura Fragrances, that earlier in the year people were scooping them up left and right. But anywhere from 70 to 80 bucks is a fantastic discounted price for this fragrance. I feel it's bang for your buck right there. While that's still more expensive than some people that are into the cheapies would want to spend, but from a niche standpoint, this is my default answer for what niche fragrance you should start with, because it's such a safe buy in my opinion. That can be the one niche fragrance you have because it's going to work for everything. T-shirt to suit and tie, every season. It performs well enough. It's not weak. It's not too strong. It's just a great fragrance. So when it comes to MANCERA, the one I have to keep for life is definitely CEDRAT BOISE. So last but not least, the reason I'm torn with the house of Zaharoff, it's not because of my own fragrance business over pleasure. It goes without saying I'm going to have that for life. I have several bottles. I will legitimately have it for life. I'm not going to put that in here. That's too biased. Because it's my fragrance. Of course I'm going to keep it. I made it. But Rosé is just so good. So good in my opinion. It came close. But the king is the king for me with Signature Pour Homme. I can't imagine not having this. If I had to pick between this and Rosé, it comes down to taking this. It's another one. Too good. Just too good for me to pass on. Like I said, Rosé, my favorite niche release of the year so far in 2021. I think Claude did such a great job on that, taking this base DNA and turning it into that. But this is just so well-rounded. It's my favorite suit and tie fragrance. Every time I'm going to wear a suit, this is the first fragrance that comes to mind. I think, do I want to wear Zaharoff this time or do I want to mix it up? That's the first thought every single time, and has been for over 2 years now. I have to have it. You know, it's a lifer for me, hands down. Every time I redo this video, it'll be here. And some of you may be saying, but he used to be a designer. Yes, he used to be a designer, but he is a niche fragrance house now. He makes fragrances specifically. They are on a high quality level. I know niche can be an asinine statement. Shout out to Quality Fragrances. I saw that post. But I put it in that category because of the way the house is, the current state of the house of Zaharoff, and what the fragrance is in itself. So it'll always be in my niche list, not my designer list. And it's definitely one I'll have to keep for life. Well, that was my 10 niche fragrances I would keep for life here in 2020, updated from last year. Because a lot's changed. A lot has changed for this video. I think the only repeat is Signature Pour Homme from Zaharoff. And maybe Cologne and CEDRAT BOISE was in there. I didn't watch the video from last year before I did this video. I just wanted to go into it and just pick. I don't want to be influenced and just pick. What are the 10? These are the 10. Until next time, do me a real quick favor. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe. So I do appreciate all the feedback, and I love hearing from you guys. If you had to keep just 10, what would be your 10? If you have a smaller collection and you have, you know, a decent amount, let's say you have 5 or 6 niche fragrances, if you only had to keep 2, what 2 are the must? Like, I gotta have these. If I'm cutting my collection down, these are the niche fragrances that have to stay. Let me know in the comments. And until next time, I will say, if you get your hands on any of my 10, you give them a spray now, pretty confident you'll thank me later. Have a good one, guys.